any information in an email that you get from colleges that you have to forward on to your adults. Now, maybe that you decide to forward the whole email on to your adult to say, hey, take a look at this, or I need you to help me answer that. Or it may just be a piece of the information from the email that needs to go to one of your adults. And if you have emails where there's a question that's outstanding information that you need to get to them, you need to go ahead and put that in a separate inbox, one that has all sorts of little stars and dings and bells, so that you remember, okay, I owe this school a certain piece of information, and that it's saved in maybe all caps, outstanding requests, so that you make sure you get that information to that school. And remember, you're going to get questions that you don't know how to answer, and that is okay. We all do, even as adults. And so when you get those questions you're not sure how to answer, consider if that is a good question to get you back in front of your guidance counselor. As I said earlier, getting your guidance counselor to really know you is important. They're writing that recommendation for you. And so if you get a good question from college in an email, make sure you print that out and walk into your guidance counselor's office with the question. And if they don't happen to be there, try to set up an appointment or go ahead and write your question on that piece of paper so they can see this student was here in my office. They have left me this question with their contact information, so that anything meaningful can be in front of them and that they have an opportunity to get back to you. Staying organized, checking that email regularly, and flagging any outstanding questions. You want to make sure that you're on top of those details.
And finally, just some other tips that we have for organization, starting with how you want to keep track of files. Ronni, back over to you.
Sure. Tip number one there, you want to make sure that you're naming everything and that you're using a consistent naming process so that when you need something, you can find it right away. This is one of the beauties about being super organized and staying on top of the organization. So planning it out and then really using it so that if there's a little piece of information you need, you know how to find it quickly, especially if it's a school or your guidance counselor or one of your other adults asking a question. You've got the answer at your fingertips. Tip number two is making sure you write down as much as you can, whether it's notes from college visits, brags for your resume, or your prompts for schools, anything that comes out of your brain and you're like, oh, I'm going to remember that. That's a great answer for a prompt. Don't count on yourself to remember it. Write it down. Have a place in your system where it's written down. Clean up your social media accounts. I'm sure other adults in your world have suggested this. Many colleges do check your accounts. So whatever those accounts are, Twitter, Instagram, whatever they are, clean them up. Make sure you'd be happy for somebody to see them. If you need to put a different name on them, rename yourself. Use a name that your friends know, but your college people won't know. That's another way to deal with it. But you want to make sure that there's nothing there. The college folks wouldn't be happy seeing that. People who are going to be interviewing you for internships and other placements, that they wouldn't be happy seeing. And by the way, you'll be out there in the workforce before you know it. And you want to make sure that potential employers are seeing good social media accounts. So hopefully you've all met your guidance counselor, even if you're not a senior, maybe you're a junior or even a sophomore this year. You want to get there in front of your guidance counselor regularly. So starting with what tools they have available for being organized is a great question. Ask them about the resources they have available to them, what platforms they suggest or apps they might use. what kind of documents and spreadsheets they like to use or what they've seen other folks use be successful. They've done this with a whole lot of other people, and tapping them and getting their advice is going to be really key. And it's a great intro if you haven't yet met your counselor, or if you feel like they don't really know you yet. It's a great way to knock on the door and have a really solid question. And you want to make sure that you're getting in front of your counselor pretty regularly. They are going to be writing a recommendation for your school. And so asking super solid questions to them so they really get to know you is super important.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, in some of your situations, it might be tough, right? Especially if your school has only a couple of counselors serving a lot of students. To Ronnie's point, you definitely want to try and put as much effort as possible into being able to meet with your counselor. But this is also where if you aren't able to get enough time with your school counselor, or they don't maybe have that much context, or they're new to the job or whatever, this is also where a college advisor or other college resources can be helpful as well. But your school counselor is a great asset, especially because they will know a lot of the specific things that you are required to do from your high school in terms of passing information along to schools, or they'll know what tools and resources you have available right within your. So that's definitely a great starting point.